Wade.
I'm Claire.
And we are the Argonaut duo. And today we're going to be talking with you about...
Staying physically healthy at music school.
Very important as well.
So some general things.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure you are eating healthy. The fact that you can get pizza 24/7 in the dining hall does not mean that you should do so.
You might start feeling the effects of that soon if you've already been taking.
Totally okay to let yourself have a treat every once in a while,
Sure.
But your basic diet should be, and everyone's diet is different. There's lots of different stuff out there.
Yeah.
But as a general rule, making sure you're getting enough protein. Protein is energy. Making sure you're
carbs, healthy
getting
fats.
green leafy vegetables.
Mhm.
Drink lots of water. Figure out what your favorite type of caffeine is.
Mm-hmm. All that good stuff. But if we could talk about the food thing.
Sure.
Because I know when I was in undergrad, this was a big challenge for me. Because at the time I was vegan, and my primary food sources were like pasta and bread and sometimes vegetables if they had them, which is pretty awful. And I know you had some challenges as well.
I had like every food allergy ever.
So how did you cope with that? Having all these food allergies?
I didn't.
Okay.
To make a very long story short,
Mm-hmm.
my mother, when I was home, my mother and I worked with a nutritionist.
Mm-hmm.
I ate steamed veg because I was my freshman year. I was in a dorm, so I had a microwave and a very little fridge that I shared with my roommate.
Yep.
So I would do like steamed vegetables, like you get at the grocery store. I would do canned tuna. I would do Uncle Ben's rice, which was
You got tired of that really fast.
Well, no, because my dad was born in the Philippines, so I grew up with my Filipino father making rice on the stove, like the legit way.
Yeah.
So rice from a pouch is just like
It's kind of heresy.
not good. So after my freshman year, I went home and did more work with the nutritionist. I also did a lot of acupuncture. There's a very interesting acupuncture treatment called NAET, which is Nambi Kurad's. That's the person who came up with an allergy elimination technique.
Okay.
And I know acupuncture is kind of a controversial topic.
Right.
I will say that my freshman year of college, when I was 18, I couldn't really eat anything without getting a horrible headache. And now I can eat pretty much whatever I want.
Nice.
I have a normal diet, so things that I wasn't able to eat before, so wheat. Dairy is still a little iffy, but almond milk is delicious, so I don't really care.
So it works out.
Yeah, so I guess that's how I handled it.
Yeah.
And I also made sure that for my sophomore year, I turned in my allergy test and I got an apartment earlier so that I could cook.
Yeah.
At my freshman year, I guess I was dating someone who had an apartment that I could go cook in.
Okay, that works too.
Or having friends with apartments, so I guess that's how I handled that.
Yeah, my dorm in undergrad had like one kitchen in the entire building, and it had like 2 burners on the stove that worked. And then I did have a microwave though, and so that did help. So when I could, I'd try to have food there, just to have something that wasn't just carbs, Though still, I wasn't super healthy. I had a tremendous amount of caffeine in my diet.
Past tense?
Oh yes, compared to now, yes. I had an average...
This is currently you drink less caffeine is what you're saying.
Yes.
Oh my god.
I had like 12 to 18 shots of espresso a day. Usually 4 by the time I went to my first class. With soy milk often, so that was interesting. But so I wasn't the healthiest role model in undergrad, but one of the ways that I coped with my limited food options, besides trying to get food from the grocery store that I could somehow put together in my dorm, honestly, is not terribly budget friendly, which is just trying to go to some restaurants sometimes to relieve the tedium of what you can prepare in your dorm, and then just the vast array of carbs that you would get from your mandatory food plan.
Yeah, and easy ways that you can do that at your grocery store. Invest in like a really high quality like peanut butter or an almond butter or a cashew butter. I know they're like $12 a jar, but they last forever and it packs a ton of protein. So
College standard.
Yeah, so if you put that on like a whole wheat or a whole grain bread, that's actually really great. You can put it on apples or other things.
Oh yeah.
So that can be really good. I even sometimes now I'll just carry a jar of almond butter and a spoon in my bag and just like have
classic college
spoonfuls in between students.
Yeah.
So those are some options.
Hummus is actually surprisingly easy to make, and you may be able to make that if you have a good blender or food processor that you can bring in there.
All that boring stuff that you used to think you didn't want for Christmas, start your lists now.
Becomes handy. On a similar note, besides drinking enough water, if you're having any sort of altering chemicals, whether that's caffeine or alcohol or whatever the case might be.
Both of those things dehydrate you.
So drink loads of water. And get some activity, even if it's just walking across campus, that's something. Because it can be really easy to just not get physical activity.
Take the stairs instead of the elevator.
Right.
At Peabody, Mr. Sang, my teacher, his studio was on the 4th floor of Leakin Hall, if you guys know where that is. So it's if you go up the spiral staircase, all 3 flights, and then up another flight of stairs. So if I felt like I wasn't getting enough exercise, I would leave a little early for my lesson and then just take the stairs.
Yeah.
But then you have to leave yourself enough time so you can actually speak when your teacher opens the door right next to So yeah, walking, doing stairs, going and running up and down the stairs.
Yeah, I mean, if you have time to play like a sport with your friends, assuming you're not on the college sports team, or if you have time to go into the gym, that's great, you know, but at least try to get some time walking places or doing stairs. It'll help not only just with your physical health, but as we mentioned in the previous video, your mental health as well.
If your college has any type of yoga class, I highly, highly recommend it. Yoga is awesome, and it's very, very different in a classroom with a really great yoga teacher than it is on a DVD or on like YouTube videos. So it's really great. It's really changed my life.
Nice.
And then, yeah.
We wanted to also talk about health with music practice and performance.
With music practice. Okay, guys, here's the thing. If you are practicing and it hurts, you need to stop immediately.
Right then.
Do not play through the pain. Okay? I spent my whole freshman year of college not able to play. I don't know if you can see, but there's actually still scar tissue in both my wrists because my freshman year, I did not make, my violin technique was horrible, and horrible violin technique and a college workload resulted in my wrists literally being 3 times their normal size. I couldn't use a knife and fork. My mom went out and found me these like weird pens that looked like Y's that you held differently so I could write.
Wow.
I tried writing with my left hand instead of my right hand, so some of my theory notes look really weird. I had a really kind theory teacher who exempted me from all the keyboard parts of my theory so I could still pass the class because I couldn't do anything. So a couple of things about that. First of all, if your teacher is making any type of technical changes in how you hold your instrument, how you sit when you play your instrument, do them. Do them immediately. When you're practicing, once you get something right, try it again and say, okay, now can I do this with any type of greater physical ease? For violinists, I know that both thumbs can tend to grab. If you feel like your shoulders are coming up when you play or like your shoulders are coming forward, that can be a problem, so open your shoulders a little bit. I'm not the best example right now, but I'm not playing, so. So anything like that. Eventually I got better because I went to a lot of physical therapy and found a violin teacher who was able to really help me rebuild my technique. But even if you have the greatest technique in the world, it's still important to take breaks when you're practicing. A really good rule is 20 minutes of playing and then 5 minutes of stretching or mental practice, and to pace yourself out that way. And if you're like looking at the music or writing in fingerings or trying to figure something out, go ahead and take your instrument down if you hold your instrument up and just let your arms hang and relax. There's really good resources for practicing smarter. And if you are hurting or feeling discomfort when you play, do talk to your teacher.
Absolutely.
It's
Bring
not,
that up.
So just for example, I think it was Hillary Hahn last year canceled about 6 to 8 weeks of her tour because she was experiencing fatigue and some physical symptoms. And Hilary Hahn is one of the greatest violinists in the world, and she took time off her like international concerto and recital tour to take care of her health. Okay, so I think that's a great example to set.
That is a good
for
example,
violinists.
yes.
I don't know, pianists. I know you had a teacher in grad school who drove you to practice when you were in pain.
Well, it's different because it wasn't pain from, it had nothing to do with joints or tendons.
Oh, that was right when you cut your finger.
Yeah, I'd cut my finger open. And, you know, that's not actually an excuse. Because you're not actually going to do any long-term damage there. It's just a little, it's going to sting for a while. You know, and you might bleed everywhere, but it's okay. You still need to practice. So that doesn't count. But if, if you're talking about joint pain or tendon pain, I think those are the two to really be cautious of, as opposed to a flesh wound.
It's only a flesh wound.
Exactly.
And I guess the last thing is, which I know you're all going to hear this and go, haha, that's stupid, is sleep.
Yes.
If you can make sure you are getting sleep, even a 20-minute nap between classes can help.
Yeah.
Make sure you are able to rest, because that's actually how your body repairs itself. So especially if you're experiencing fatigue or injury, making sure you're getting physical activity besides playing your instrument, making sure you're drinking enough water, eating right, getting enough sleep, those can all help. Because if you are living on coffee and sleeping 3 hours a night and then practicing 8 hours a day, like you can't sustain that forever.
Yeah, that's not sustainable.
You know, if you gotta do what you gotta do before your recital or juries, sure.
Sure, yeah.
And if you know you have to go crazy for a couple weeks, make sure you look at your calendar and go, okay, this next day coming up is my day off and I don't have to do anything.
Even if you can just like lay down for 5 or 10 minutes and close your eyes, that can help too.
Do set an alarm.
Yes, do set an alarm.
So you don't sleep through rehearsals.
Yeah, that's something that I did in undergrad sometimes. So I would just find somewhere to just close my eyes. I didn't actually go to sleep, but it was actually quite restorative. So I do recommend that if you're in sort of a pinch where you just don't have time to go do something like that.
All right, so stay healthy, you guys.
Yeah, thanks for watching.